जातं तं सजीव साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेव श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we'll begin our discussion on Isopanisad. Last time we saw the first verse of this book, Isopanisad. Ishavashidam sarvam yash kinchit jagatan jagat tena tattvena bhunjita na magrut kasya svidhanam. We saw in that how one should accept only one's own quota. That is what this particular verse talks about. So everything in this world, which animates and inanimates, belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the controller, he is the provider, he is the enjoyer, he is everything. And one should accept only that is which is necessary for himself, which is kept aside as his quota, and should not hanker for more than what he is allotted. And one should not try to accept quota or wealth of others, knowing to whom it belongs to. So we saw in this verse how that there is Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti, how Jiva and versus Ishvara we saw. We also saw that, the human being and the difference between an animal, and understanding all of that, we also accepted. We also saw that every living entity has its own quota and he should not accept everything. And the principle of Ishavasya, Isha means Ishvara, and everything belongs to the Supreme Person of Godhead, Sali Bhumi Gopal ki. We understood this very important principle. And based on this understanding, there's the next verse, which is talking about a work. So this work is art of work, or this is art of living. You can understand this particular second verse. So second verse, we can title it as art of work or art of living. So Krishna here, or this particular verse, which is spoken here, it mainly talks about a varnashrama dharma. In the Bhagavad Gita also, in Gita Upanishad, Lord Krishna talks about this particular matter, where he's talking about Sakama Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga, or where he's giving a definition of karma. While giving this definition of karma, Krishna is saying that actually everything belongs to Krishna. And that's why whatever results come, we should offer it to Krishna. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. There Krishna is telling whatever result comes, we should offer it to Krishna. And when the results are offered to Krishna, it's a very interesting thing. Especially for a karma yogi, it is very difficult. And there's a difference between the sakama karma and nishkama karma. So these are the two karma yogas. One is called as the sakama karma yoga, another called as the nishkama karma yoga. So sakama karma yoga, where sakama, that means it is with kamana, it is with the desire. What is the desire? Desire to enjoy not the complete, but then some part of the fruits. And that's why it is a sakamana. So it is when it is said, you will be studying in Bhagavad Gita, the ladder. yoga ladder. In that yoga ladder, it begins with the karma yoga. And in karma yoga, there are two parts. One is sakama karma, another is nishkama karma. So sakama is that person has a kamana. He's attached to the fruits of the results. And then there is a nishkama. Nishkama, that means a person does not have any kamana, any fruits, any attachment to the fruits of the result. Nishkama yoga. And then nishkama yoga is very much appreciated by Lord Sri Krishna. And that's why many times Krishna says this, that nishkama karma yoga is very dear. Karma yoga is also dear to him. And no, if we get into a detailed study of nishkama karma yoga, that particular person is also a devotee of Krishna, or that person, that yogi, is very well connected to the Supreme Lord. That yogi has a very clear understanding of a Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why this particular verse, the second verse, is also talking about that Nishkama Karma Yogi. Now, when you're saying Nishkama Karma Yogi, we just saw that Isha Vashidam Sarvam Yat Kinchit Jagatam Jagat. In this particular world, whatever animates or inanimates, what is Achala or a Chala, everything belongs to Krishna. All the property, he is the main proprietor. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. We saw that verse in detail. So he knows, this person knows, who is performing the work, he knows that there is a Supreme Lord and everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. And that's why whenever he works, whatever results are coming, we have heard this, actually, every action has equal and opposite reaction. So whatever action person is performing, there is going to be a result. And especially a action performed with the remembrance of Supreme Lord or with the understanding of the previous principle of Ishavasya, the person is very clear. And that's why the art of living is, while living in this world, so this particular verse says that everybody likes to live in this world. Nobody wants to quit this world. Until the time they are living in this world, how they should live is spoken here. So that's why this verse can be mainly understood as art of living. So let's go through the verse. Kuruvan eha karmani jivveshu chatam samaha evam tyahi nanyat te thosti na karma lipyate nare. Na karma lipyate nare. Nare is that unto a man. Karma lipyate. Lipyate means bound. You will see this word very often used in Bhagavad Gita also. Krishna is using this word lipyate very often. Karma lipyate, work that bounds. Work cannot bound a person. Who is that person whom work cannot bound? That is explained here. So one may aspire to live, the translation, the one may aspire to live for hundreds of years. If he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. So this particular verse is very nice. This also talks about person who is a Nishkama Karma Yogi, or this person talks about a person who has understood the principle of Ishavasya. So the translation is, one may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. What is that way? That way is the previous verse, that is Ishavasya person. For that sort of work is to be understood as a karma, or that sort of work is to be understood as a nishkama karma. We will be saying this. Prabhupada talks about this karma, akarma, and vikarma. These three words are used, and we will understand those three words very well. That is also spoken in Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, fourth chapter, also highlights on karma, akarma, and vikarma. So we are going to study this thing. So for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. For a human, there is no alternative. That's an important thing. So karma has to be performed. While performing a karma, understand that this karma is to be performed for whom? The action is performed for the pleasure of Supreme Lord Vishnu. So we'll try to see one by one. We'll also read the. So mainly this verse is highlight of Varnashrama Dharma. In the Varnashrama Dharma, there are 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. are four varnas, and four ashramas are brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So Krishna says, Chatur Varna Maya Srishtam. I have established these four Varna. So basically, these four Varnashramas are established by Krishna himself. When Krishna has established these four Varnashramas, they are very important for a human being to follow. So while studying art of living, for us, it is very better to understand the Varnashram is very important. So when we are talking about Varnashram, our understanding this verse from the aspect of Varnashram, karma yoga becomes a prominent thing. Either you are a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, your karma is very important, or you are Brahmachari, Vanaprastha, your Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyasi. Your karma is very important. So what kind of karma you are performing? With what understanding you are performing that karma is very, very important. So let's go to the purport. Can somebody read the purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, go ahead.
Prabhu, Saurabh Prabhu. Hare Krishna Saurabh Prabhu. Please share this screen, Prabhu. No one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is visible not only individually but also collectively in the community, society, and nation. There is a hard struggle for life by all kinds of living entities, and the Vedas say that this is a quite natural. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of the soul or karma bandhana, bondage by one's walk. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of the material nature. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in the many species of life. Other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death. But when the living entity attains a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the chain of karma. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very carefully described in Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. And actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life form are called vikarma. Of these three types of action, that which frees one from the bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent man. Ordinary man wish to perform good work in order to be recognized and achieve some higher status of life in this world or in heaven. But more advanced men want to be free altogether from the action and reaction of the work. Intelligent men well know that both good and bad work equally bind one to the material miseries. Consequently, they seek that work which will free them from the reaction of both good and bad work. Such liberating work is described here in the pages of Sri Upanishad.
Okay, bro. You will get this point. So, there are some important points which Prabhupada is talking here, and we will understand those points very well. So, first of all, Prabhupada is saying everybody wants to live in this world, nobody wants to die. So, living in this world is a need of a people, and that's why everybody wants to live. For whatever reason they're attached to the body, or for somebody has a higher purpose of taking care of family. Somebody may have a little more higher purpose from family to he goes to a state or to the nation and has serve the society to take care or to serve the society. And then he has a higher principle is understanding one's own life, practicing spirituality, or or the higher principle of liberation. People have understanding till then that they want to get free from the clutches, and then till the time they are here in this world, they want to live. But then how one should live in this world is a very important thing. And for living, while living in this world, one can not live without work. Like there are people who have this understanding of akarma. Akarma means there is no need of performing any karma. You be detached from the karma. But at least they have to eat, they have to evacuate, they have to walk, they have to make arrangement for eating, sleeping, they have to sleep. So while doing this arrangement, because that's a need of a human body, they have to perform some work. And while performing that work, the reactions are going to come. And that's why Prabhupada is saying that while living in this world, how one should live, that's very important. Otherwise, there are so many people who does not know how to live. And that becomes a cause of bondage. Prabhupada is talking karma bandhana here. And then Prabhupada is saying that that's a cause of bondage. So first of all, living is very important. For living, the work will always be performed. While performing that work, many people don't know why are they living or for whom they are living and how should they work. And that's why that becomes a cause, that karma becomes a cause of bondage, which is also called the karma bandhana. So it should not become the cause of bondage. And for that, this verse, understanding of this verse is very important. And because of the bondage, the people are just moving from one body to another body, and cycle of birth and death is continuously going on. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. There is always janma, there is always a mrityu, these things are always going on. So that's why uh, the bondage is always seen. So one has to be free from this karma bandhana, or one has to get the liberation. And for that liberation, what a person has to, liberation from what? Liberation from material bondage. For liberation from material bondage, person has to understand or perform karma in the right direction. And that's why Prabhupada is talking about karma, akarma, and vikarma. What is karma, karma, vikarma? We understand karma means action, activity which we are regularly performing, which will bring results. Then there is vikarma. Vikarma means forbidden activities. These are the activities which one should avoid. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. These are the activities we avoid. So there are forbidden activities, that is which is called the vikarma. So vikarma is completely aside. Now there is a karma and akarma. Now understanding of akarma according to Jnana Yogi or some karma yogi is that one should be detached from the work. No, one cannot be detached from the work. Work will always be performed. Prabhupada, very often you will see that people, Prabhupada criticizing on condemning these particular akarmis who are running away from the responsibilities, who are running away from the responsibility of Varnashrama Dharma also. And then they're going and landing somewhere, and then there, after going there for the living, they have to perform the work. At least for eating, sleeping, they have to perform the work. And while performing this work, they are caught up. Because whatever actions we are performing, it is going to bear the results. It is going to get the results. And that's why those results are dependent on the action. And that's why that becomes a cause of bondage. When we are saying cause of bondage, even the good work or bad work becomes the cause of bondage. And that's why vikarma is a forbidden activity which one has to completely avoid. But while performing karma also, that becomes a cause of bondage because person, after performing a good work, he receives a pious credit. And after performing bad work, he gets the sinful credit. So either pious or sinful. What will happen because of the pious credit? Because of the pious credit, person gets elevated to the higher planets. After going to higher planets, he stays there for some years, few time, and then he enjoys there. And then as soon as the punya is over, Shune punya marte loke, as soon as the punya is over, he has to come down to this marte loka and again begin his work. So punya also becomes a cause of bondage. So punya or papa both becomes the cause of bondage. And that's why akarma is very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada. Our Gaudiya Acharyas, they explain akarma very nicely. Otherwise, a literally meaning of akarma means not performing any activity, and not performing any activity becomes a cause of bondage. So this is something very, very important to understand. That's why we need acharyas to understand things. Like the absolute truth is also glorified by Advaitis as Nirguna Nirakar. If you go and study Vedas, Vedas also talk about Nirgun Nirakar. There are so many Advaitis. Very often you will find talking about Nirgun and Nirakar. What is Nirgun? Nirgun means one does not have any qualities. Nirakar means one does not have any akar, one does not have any form. But then our acharyas, they give such a nice understanding of Nirguna and Nirakar that they say that he does not have any material qualities, that is Nirguna. And Nirakar, that means he does not have any material form like us. Our material form is made up of Pancha Mahabhuta, our material form is perishable, it is dirty, it has all XYZ things. It goes through the transformation, the sixth transformation of the life. But then Krishna doesn't have to go through that. And that's why his form is spiritual and he possesses all spiritual gunas. And that's why Nirguna Nirakar is understood by acharyas as like this. Similarly, akarma is also understood through acharyas is not the performing activities for our own pleasure, performing the activity for the pleasure of Ishvara. Isha Vasya Idam Sarvam says that I am performing this activity knowing that everything belongs to Krishna. So similarly, he also says that whatever activity, this Karma Yogi, who is a Nishkama Karma Yogi, he says that whatever activity I am performing, I am performing this activity for the pleasure of Krishna. Now, this particular verse, which is very famous verse of Bhagavad Gita, which says Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So this particular verse, people just know the half of it. Karma kar, phal ki apeksha mat kar. That you perform your activity and don't expect any result. So that is not the only thing. It is this particular verse explains so nicely the complete Nishkama Karma Yoga. So let's understand Nishkama Karma Yoga, which is also understanding of akarma. So while studying karma, there is always an opportunity to get confused. There are so many terminologies of karma which we will study in Bhagavad Gita also. So don't get confused. Try to understand it very nicely. We spoke about karma, akarma, and vikarma. Karma is the action which will bring good or bad results. Vikarma is a forbidden action which has to be completely avoided. Akarma means performing activity for the pleasure of Lord. A very easy way to understand. So what does that say? Nishkama Karma Yoga. One has to perform action. While performing action, he will get the results. Whatever result he gets, he immediately offers everything to the God, everything supreme, everything to the Supreme Lord, Son Godhead. So person may say, okay, I am performing an activity, karma kar rahe, phal ki apeksha nahi kar. Matlab, that means you are offering the results to God. Then comes a twist there. While performing the activity, you should not consider yourself karta. You are not the doer. So somebody will say, okay, I am performing work, understood. Giving results to Krishna, understood. But not considering oneself the doer, then why should I perform a work? And that's why these akarmis who have this understanding of not performing work comes to the conclusion like this, that I am performing work, offering the results to God, and still I should not be considered as karta. I am not the doer. That is very painful. And that's why people say, I will not perform the work. No. And Krishna is still saying, akarma is not allowed. Not performing work is not allowed. So Nishkama Karma, the complete definition is perform work, offer the results to God, do not consider yourself the doer, and continue to perform the work. You cannot run away from the work. So akarma also is like that. Akarma means performing the activity for the pleasure of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, not considering ourselves the doer or owner of everything. So Krishna is the real proprietor and everything belongs to him. I am performing this for his pleasure. That's very interesting. And that's why Nishkama Karma Yogi is very close to Bhakti Yogi. Because Bhakti Yogi also says that, I am doing whatever belongs to God, I am doing for the pleasure of Krishna. We always say that, it's for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga. So what does that mean? That I am performing this action for the pleasure of Krishna and Guru. Similarly, this particular akarma definition or Nishkama Karma Yogi is offering the results to Krishna, not considering himself the doer, and he is continuing to perform the work for the pleasure of God. So when somebody has this understanding, he is not bound by the karma bandhana. Otherwise, whoever is performing the activity for his own sense pleasure, or whoever is having kamana, which is basically a sakama karma yogi, is become a cause of bondage. So sakama karma yogi becomes a cause of bondage, though he is offering some part of the result. Or there is, karma kandi, who is just performing the activity for his own sense gratification. They all become cause a result of they bear the result, and that's why they become get caught up into karma bandhana. So they are bound. But Nishkama Karma Yogi, who is doing everything for the Lord, is not bound. Let's understand this with an interesting example. Like, a person, this is very important to understand in our life that, why Krishna? Like somebody may say, don't you think that your Lord is holding a judgment rod, and he's just punishing those who are not doing for him, not surrendering to him. No, it's not like that. He's a merciful Lord, and he has given this particular facility where uh, if you are aligned with him, if you are serving with him, if you are with him, you are going to enjoy. As soon as we try to enjoy separate from him, we are suffering. And that is the reason we are here in this material world. Because we are trying to enjoy separately from him. This thought itself of enjoying separately from him is becoming a cause of bondage in this material world. So if somebody wants to free oneself from the karma bandhana, or material bondage, and liberate, Prabhupada also explained about it, one has to align with the Supreme Lord. I believe I gave this example last time also about the Ambani and his driver. Did I speak, Silver? Did I give this example?
Yes, Prabhuji, regarding glass factory, glass owner, that
Yeah, I was speaking about the glass owner. Proper talking. You are a thief, and everything belongs to Krishna. So, if you are trying to enjoy separately from your boss, what will happen? You will be punished. But as soon as you continuously enjoy with the boss, what happens is that you get to enjoy the same thing what your boss is enjoying. So, being with Krishna, we are getting to enjoy such a nice Krishna Prasad which you are offering to God. You are making Chappan Bhoga and offering it to Krishna, and Krishna is giving that in return, and then we are enjoying that Prasad. Or we are going for yatras and tours. So either eating, either recreation, either every other action which is performed for Krishna, we are getting to enjoy because we are trying to satisfy Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one has to, if somebody wants a liberation from material bondage, he has to follow this uh, principle of akarma. That's very important. Okay, please read ahead. Anybody has any question till now? Okay.
Prabhuji,
Yes, bro.
uh, Nishkam Karmi and Akarmi will be the same.
Yes, you can say that. That akarma understanding. Obviously, akarma understanding is very oftenly spoken in the by the Advaitis or by the not Advaitis, mainly by the this typical karma yogi people. That akarma means staying away from karma. But our Vaishnava understanding of akarma is yes, it is similar to Nishkama karma.
And in the normal karma, which is explained in the purport, like prescribed duties mentioned in the revealed scriptures. So, that shloka karmanyavadikaraste. So, whatever the people are performing, whether that will be the karma or what, like those peoples are performing at the just sake of doing something.
Yeah.
So they are not doing as per scriptures like that.
As Prabhupada explained, three things: karma, akarma, and vikarma. Vikarma is understood very easily; it's forbidden activity. Karma becomes a complication thing because person is saying, "I am a good person. I am performing this particular activity." But for whom you are performing that activity is very important. If he is performing that activity just for doing it, karna hai isliye karna hai. If he performing that activity for the pleasure of XYZ people in his life, if he is performing that activity for the pleasure of Supreme Lord, there is a difference. So if he's performing for the pleasure of Supreme Lord, that karma he's going to that can be called as a nishkama karma. But if he's performing that activity just for doing or the sense gratification or for XYZ person on this mortal world, then that is becoming a cause of bondage. So he's either going to get a pious spirit or like there are people who are Desha Bhakta and they are performing all the activity. Not I'm not doing this for mine. They are sacrificing their life. They are going out and doing so many things. They are ready to chop their head for the country. So what happens to them? They are going to bear the good results, but those good results are till Swargaloka. And they'll enjoy so because of their good activities in this world, they enjoy for some time and again come back. So either in Swargaloka or Brahmaloka, that's a part of material world, and that's a part that becomes a cause of bondage only. You enjoy for some time, but after enjoyment, again you have to come to this material world, Bhuloka. And after coming to Bhuloka, again you have to live the same life. But here, when somebody is doing Nishkama Karma, that is helpful for him to cross or he can get liberated. Okay, so karma is different. Akarma, in according to Vaishnava way, then done that activities performed for Supreme Lord. And that's why, because activity performed for Supreme Lord, there is no sinful reaction for that person. He does not become that does not become a cause of bondage, either pious or sin. He becomes qualified to liberate.
Prabhuji, it is they are mentioning like duties mentioned in the revealed scripture. So everyone is not doing. So will it be the like it is called as karma only, but will it be karma?
So it's very easy that the scriptures they talk about like Vedas. If you take Vedas are our revealed scriptures. Vedas talk about Vidya and Avidya. Vidya is a knowledge which help one for the liberation, and Avidya is a knowledge which help one to keep this body fit and fine. And that's why it is Avidya, because it is mainly related to body. So take your Arthashastra, take your Vastu Shastra, take your astrology. This is all is related. It does not give any self-realization. It does not talk anything about the self-realization. It mainly talks about keeping your body fine. So if somebody is performing those kind of activity just for maintaining the body, that will become a cause of bondage. But if somebody is performing the activity for self-realization, as soon as the self-realization comes, there is a knowledge of soul, there is a knowledge of super soul, there is a connection established. And then only that self-realization is complete. That's a part of Vidya. Vidya is also known as a Vijnana. The Jnana transformed into Vijnana is very important. So Jnana means knowledge, Vijnana means realization. So knowledge has to be transformed into realization is very important. So here, this person is performing an activity which is even given in the revealed scriptures, like Karma Kandi is. Where Karma Kandi is mentioned, Karma Kandi is also mentioned in the revealed scripture. But that Karma Kandi is performing that activity exclusively for his own pleasure. Karma Kandi is they perform yajna for what? Gaining money. Karma Kandi is perform yajna for getting a beautiful wife and resolve their problems of their life, whatever. That is the karma kanda they perform. While performing that karma kanda, what they get is a good credit. And that's why they're getting to enjoy. Or the difficulties of their life are reduced or postponed or removed or whatever expected. What happens to him? That karma kandi is trying to enjoy his own senses, becomes a cause of bondage. So karma performed by karma kandi, karma performed by sakama karma is going to be cause of bondage. But karma performed by nishkama karma yogi becomes a reason for liberation. He is not bound by. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, first Vijay Guru.
Hare Krishna, Vandana. Prabhuji, what is the difference between Nishkam Karma Yogi and Bhakti Yogi?
Okay, so Nishkama Karma Yogi is performing the activity for the pleasure of Lord. And what he is doing, whatever result comes, he offer that result to Krishna. And because he's offering 100% result, which is very, very difficult for a person. And while offering the results, he is not considering himself the doer. So he's basically performing action, offering results to Krishna as a Nishkama Karma Yogi, and not considering himself a doer. And he continuously does that for throughout his life till the time he's living. That is Nishkama Karma. Bhakti Yogi is having an understanding, much better understanding of the absolute truth. Here, Karma Yogi may have or may not have the very clear understanding of absolute truth. Absolute truth in the form of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And Karma Yogi, to have that better understanding, after Karma Yoga, has to take shelter of Jnana Yoga. Then, after taking a shelter of Jnana Yoga, he has to take shelter of Ashtanga Yoga. That is how the ladder works. This is how he has to climb the ladder. And after attaining the stage of Samadhi in Ashtanga Yoga, he goes to Bhakti Yoga. Now, there is again a difference between Ashtanga and Bhakti Yoga, which is a very small difference, which is Bhakti Yoga has a clear understanding of Supreme Lord. He surrenders to the Supreme Lord, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishvamasucha. That he completely surrendered, giving up all the attachment, thinking that Krishna is everything for him. And while doing that, he establishes the relationship. Now, this whole knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna gave to Arjuna, Krishna is very interestingly speaking about this in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that I have given this knowledge before also. I have given this knowledge to Ikshvaku and then, everything, all the detailed parampara he's speaking. And then he says, Yoga Nashta Parantapa, that this particular knowledge appeared to be lost. And when this particular knowledge was lost, I am again revealing it to you. While saying this, Krishna is talking to a bhakta. Why I am revealing? Krishna gives the reason why I am revealing this knowledge. 4.4. Bhakto se me sakhacheti, because you are my devotee and you are my friend. So the difference between all other yogas, either is the Nishkama Karma Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga Samadhi stage, the difference is the Bhakti Yoga establishes his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when he establishes a relationship, he exchanges rasa. Bhakto se me sakhacheti, you are my devotee and you are my friend. That's why I'm revealing this knowledge. So Bhakti Yogi, the difference is the rasa, the relationship is established and rasa is exchanged, or the melos are exchanged, which we'll study those melos very much in detail when we are studying Nectar of Devotion. And some part of Bhakti Yoga from Bhagavad Gita, the 6th, 7th chapter to 12th chapter, when we are studying that, we'll understand it more thoroughly. But then the difference between Ashtanga Yogi, which is at the stage of Samadhi, because the Ashtanga Yogi, if you see in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is glorified almost like Bhakti Yogi. But still there is a difference, that is the differences of relationship and differences of rasa. Okay, bro? So same is the case with Nishkama Karma Yogi. Even Bhakti Yoga, when somebody is performing a Bhakti Yoga, practicing Bhakti Yoga, he also has to perform the karma. But he performs that karma with the understanding of Nishkama Karma. And while performing Nishkama Karma, karma is not the prominent thing for him. Prominent thing for him is to establish his relationship with Supreme Personality of Godhead and developing a loving rasa, exchange of rasa. That is the prominence. And service is the prominent thing for him. The karma is not very prominent. Okay, bro?
Okay, brother. Thank you.
Yes, Abhishek, bro?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, being a devotee, Prabhuji, like we need to, how we can, I have doubt in this. I need to clarify this, Prabhuji. We need to believe in Vastu Shastra or astrology and all those things or not, Prabhuji. Like being a devotee, Prabhu, every time is like every tithi is Madhava tithi. And whatever the things we will get happen in our life because of our previous karmas, in Srimad Bhagavatam also in Lord Brahma prayed for like in Lord Brahma's prayer Brahmaji mentioned this thing only na Prabhuji. Tattenu kampasu samikshamano. That thing only na Prabhuji. Like
Yes.
we need to believe this Vastu Shastra, astrology, or we supposed to believe or we not believe
Okay, I get
like
your
not
question.
necessity, Prabhuji.
Yes, I get your question. See, either it is a Vastu Shastra, either it is astrology, even Ayurveda, they are the part of Vedas. So somebody which is a part of Veda, we cannot reject or we cannot disbelieve it. Why? Because Vedas are the, we say about Bhagavad Gita, yes, Swayam Padmanabhasya Mukhapadmat Vinishruta. This particular song, which is sung by the Supreme Lord Padmanabha, and that's why Gita is glorified very much. And we accept Gita wholeheartedly. Similarly, Vedas are to be accepted. First of all, a lot of part of Vedas are missing, and that's why the complete knowledge of Veda is not with us. But still, whatever is coming from the Veda, so Vastu Shastra is a part of Veda, then Ayurveda is a part of Veda, astrology is a part of Veda, and there are many other branches are part of Vedas because it is coming out of the mouth of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate. Everything is Purna, everything is complete. So that knowledge is complete, we cannot disbelieve it. We cannot be faithless about it. We cannot say that I don't want it. No. But then, because it is not directly connected to a self-realization, devotee is not dependent on that. Like to give an example, Srila Prabhupada, one of the disciple, he comes to Srila Prabhupada saying, Prabhupada, my finger got cut. I was cutting sabji for Krishna. Prabhupada said, oh, your hand was supposed to be chopped completely. Just because, finger small, you are devotee of Krishna, your finger is chopped off. So what Krishna Prabhupada is trying to tell him, that being a devotee, Krishna is very compassionate to his devotee. And like many times Prabhupada said, if you just clap it kirtan, all the rekhas on the hand will change. So astrology is going to change just being a part of a devotee, just being connected to Krishna. It's Krishna only who has authority to change. So for us, surrender to Krishna and accepting the will of Krishna is more important than being dependent on these other branches. So we believe that this particular science is complete this particular science is coming from the Krishna. So we have faith on this particular science. We don't reject it. If there is a need, we may take shelter of it for some time. But there, unfortunately, what happens is that, because it's a part of Vedas, it's a complete knowledge, let me surrender to. And then devotees surrender to Ayurveda, devotees surrender to, so many things. And the main path of devotional service becomes a secondary. And this becomes a primary. I have seen devotees in life that astrology is like very prominent for them. They will take, unfortunately, every day's decision they take according to astrology. And nowadays it has become so easy through AI or through whatever Google that you can know every day's astrology, every day's panchanga, every day's everything, and then people try to work on that. No, devotee of Krishna is surrender to Krishna. He accepts the will of Krishna. Then only he is a devotee of Krishna. Maro bhi rakho bhi jo ichha tomar. Whatever, we every day sing this particular thing. Ashlishava padaratam pinashtuma. If you want to punish me, punish me. If you want to embrace me, embrace me. What does that mean? That is the mood of a devotee. That I will work as per the will of Krishna. And that's why even if the difficulties come, he accepts it. Yes, because of my bad karma, these difficulties have come. And Krishna is helping me to come out of it. And then that's how he establishes his relationship. So we believe in it. We don't reject it. If there is a need, like for somebody's marriage has to be fixed, so Tithi has to be seen, so Panchanga is observed. If the Kundali can be matched. If somebody wants to build a house for the Krishna's pleasure, where he is living and performing a devotional activity, and he can go and study Vastu Shastra. And not study, but he can ask some Vastu Shastra experts and build a house accordingly. Because dishas have their effect, there are demigods who are sitting, or there are grahas which have influence on us. But all this influence can be changed by Krishna. That is a belief of his devotee, belief of a devotee, that Krishna can change everything. I just have to surrender myself to Krishna. And that's what we have seen. So Krishna is always there to help. Krishna is always there to support. Okay, bro? Is that answers the question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks for wonderful answer.
Okay. So let's go ahead. Please read the purport. Who else can read?
The instruction of Sri Upanishad are more elaborately explained in the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called the Gita Upanishad. The cream of all the Upanishad in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 9 to 16. The personality of Godhead says that one cannot attain the state of Naishkarmya or Akarma without executing the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedic literature. This literature can regulate the working energy of the human being in such a way that he can gradually realize the authority of the Supreme Being. When he realizes the authority of the personality of Godhead, Vasudev or Krishna, it is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. In this purified stage, the mode of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot act, and he is able to walk on the basis of Naishkaramya. Such walk does not bind one to the cycle of birth and death. Factually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stage of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service. Nor can one completely stop fruitive work. A conditioned soul is accustomed to working for sense gratification for his own selfish interest, immediate or extended. An ordinary man works for his own sense enjoyment, and when this principle of sense enjoyment is extended to include his society, nation, or humanity in general, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, and humanitarianism. These isms are certainly very attractive for forms of karma bandhana, karmic bondage. But the Vedic instruction of Sri Upanishad is that if one actually wants to live for any of the above ism, he should make them God-centered. There is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist or socialist or a communist, a nationalist or a humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation with Ishavasya, the God-centered conception. In Bhagavad Gita,
Okay,
chapter 2,
just focus on this. Okay, so here Like our Saurabh was asking this question of our revealed scriptures, that this particular prescribed duty which is mentioned in the revealed scripture. So here, this particular understanding which is mentioned here, that's why I began with explaining about Varnashrama Dharma, that there are 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas, and one has to perform the activity as per the 4 Varnas and Ashramas. So in the revealed scriptures, like if you take a Manu Samhita talks about the job of a Brahmana, Yajna Patan Patan. There is Kshatriya, there is Vaishya, there is Shudra. And then there is also about, Brahmachari, Gurukule, Vasandanto, Gururita, then there is Grihastha Jivanada responsibility, and then there is the responsibility of Vanaprastha and Sannyasi. So all those responsibilities are mentioned in the scriptures. So when they are mentioned in the revealed scriptures, one has to act accordingly. But while acting accordingly, so one has to always prescribe duty. If you see the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about performing a prescribed duty. For somebody is performing his prescribed duties properly, he is pleasing to me. Krishna is telling this particular thing. Why? Because Krishna has established this Varnashram. So Varnashram is established by Krishna. One has to understand his own nature and understand, where he fits into some, and that's why many times Guna Karma Vibhagasha, when Krishna is talking about after Varnashrama, according to Guna and Karma, according to the qualities and according to the activities, the ashrama, the Varna is decided. Or even in the ashrama where you are situated, there also you have to understand the responsibility. Why? Because all these things are revealed by Krishna in the scriptural form. Krishna has given this thing in the scripture. And by performing these prescribed duties of Varnashrama, he is pleasing to Krishna. But how he is pleasing to Krishna, that is also explained by Prabhupada in this purport. He has to understand while performing a Varnashrama, while practicing Varnashrama, slowly, he has to understand the authority of a supreme being. That Krishna is the controller of everything, or Krishna is the main supreme personal Godhead. That understanding is very important. The previous understanding of Ishavasya is beginning with what? The beginning invocation mantra is also about the complete Supreme Lord. Then the second thing is Ishavasya, understanding the Ishvara is very important. While understanding Ishvara is very important, one has to live into a Varnashrama Dharma, which is established by Krishna and which is explained in the revealed scriptures. So revealed scriptures are talking about Varnashrama, but Varnashrama is not all in all. He has to understand the presence of Krishna. He has to understand the supremacy of Krishna. That's very important. And he has to connect himself with the Supreme. When he connects with the Supreme and performs the Varnashrama activity, whatever is prescribed in the revealed scriptures, that becomes a cause of liberation. That helps him to liberate. Otherwise, it will be a cause of bondage. Okay. So work in devotion is very important. The art of work means work in devotion. And that's why akarma or nishkama karma, both the things are highlighted here. Nishkama karma is Prabhupada is talking about nishkama in this purport. Nishkama, that without any kamana, he is performing that for the Supreme Lord's pleasure. And when he is doing that, that person is, liberation. He can liberate from the material bondage. And Prabhupada is also talking here about the bhakti, the devotional service. That bhakti is defined as a service to Krishna using the senses with an intention to please him and free of other desires. Then further, Prabhupada is talking about the conditioning. In this material world, the living entity is a conditioned soul, and then he has a conditioning, and because of that conditioning, that living entity is serving his own senses. If he's not serving his own senses, he's trying to serve, some other community, or he's trying to serve, some other things. And then there is, Prabhupada is talking about these isms, that, person may be into altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, or humanitarianism. All these things, all these isms have come because of not accepting bhakti to Krishna. That's very important. So these are not the direct bhakti activities. They are the activities which are performed with the understanding of gratifying the senses, or they are performed for because of the attachment of some word, and that's why this ism is very often rejected by Prabhupada. Either it is a nationalism, or it is capitalism, or it is whatever different isms. Their isms are not accepted; they are rejected. So this is coming because of the attachment and the sense enjoyment of this topic. So Ishavasya principle talks about God-centered life. we are all very often spoken, and you must have heard this very, very often, that we have to live the life which is God-centered. So, Grahastha Jivan means that, one has to have Krishna into the center of his life. So similarly, that Krishna-centered life, God-centered life is very important, and that's the concept which comes from Ishavasya. Okay, let's go ahead, continue.
In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 40, Lord Krishna states that the God-centered activities are so valuable that just a few of them can save a person from the greatest danger. The greatest danger of life is the danger of gliding down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death amongst the 8.4 million species. If somehow or other a man misses the spiritual opportunity afforded by his human form of life and falls down again into evolutionary cycle, he must be considered most unfortunate. Due to his defective sense, a foolish man cannot see that this is happening. Consequently, Sri Isopanisad advises us to exert our energy in the spirit of Isha Vasyam. Being so engaged, we may wish to live for many, many years. Otherwise, a long life in itself has no value. A tree lives for hundreds and hundreds of years, but there is no point in living a long time like trees, or breathing like bellows, or begetting children like hogs and dogs, or eating like camels. A humble God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hogs of life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism. When altruistic activities are executed in the spirit of Sri Ishopanishad, they become a form of karma yoga. Such activities are recommended in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, in text 5 to 9. For they guarantee their executor protection from the danger of sliding down into the evolutionary process of birth and death. Even though such God centered activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor because they will guarantee him a human form in his next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. How how one can execute God-centered activities is elaborately explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing the activities in the spirit of Sri Ishopanishad.
Correct. So after saying that this attachment to different isms is not a right thing, Prabhupada is talking about God-centered life. God-centered life is it can help a person from a greatest danger. What is that greatest danger? Is to moving into the 84 lakh species of cycle of birth and death. The greatest danger of life is that, and then this human form of life, which is very, very rare amongst this 84 lakh species. And then in this human form of life only, we can understand the God, we can live a God-centered life. And that's why we have one has to live the God-centered life. A very humble God-centered life is more valuable than the other godless isms. And that's why one should not run behind these other godless isms. I was recently into some programs which were organized by one of the organization. They invited us to speak about dharma. And while speaking about dharma, a very weird thing came to my understanding that these people are very famous as Sanatani or Hindutva. And while speaking about, they are just focused about protecting the dharma without knowing about God. In fact, one of the place they said that how there one of the leader of that institute said that one should keep all the devatas packed in some bag for 50 years, and they should not perform any yajna, and they should just fight for the country or fight for protecting the religion. How can you protect a religion without the understanding of God? Just not possible. So God-centered life is very important. So just running behind a nationalism, having some Desha Bhakti is not right. just having attachment to some particular religion and then trying to protect that religion without understanding of God or God-centered life is not possible. A person who knows about Krishna, who knows about the God, who is practicing the principles given by Krishna in his own life can actually protect dharma. Many times, new people come and they ask, Prabhu, why did you give up your career? Why did you give up your family and you are here like a brahmachari? What was the reason? So I very often tell that I had a desire for performing a social activity. And while performing a social activity, I understood that, whatever food, shelter, clothing, knowledge, whatever education I give, that is going to be temporary. That's not going to be permanent. But the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is so powerful. I understood after coming to ISKCON, after understand reading Bhagavad Gita. If I go and give this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to 10 people, these 10 people, after hearing this knowledge, are not going to perform forbidden activities. And just because they are not performing forbidden activities, they are going to be a peaceful entities in the society. And these peaceful entities won't disturb the society. So that's why I'm helping the society and performing the social work. So there is no need of performing a social work of other things. Krishna has arranged everything to everyone as per their needs, as per their capacity, as per their, whatever baggage they're carrying. So that's why the social activities or, this nationalism, all those things are not very much appreciated. And especially in the path of Bhakti Yogi, God-centered life is very, very important. A humble God-centered life is much important. And Prabhupada is also encouraging everyone, saying that, even if somebody is not able to complete in this life, if it is just half performed, it is just 50% performed, don't worry. From the next life, you are going to get in the next life, you are going to get a human birth. Human birth is guaranteed just by performing a God-centered life. And when you get a human birth, you again have an opportunity to practice this God-centered life and attain liberation. So Krishna also talks about this in Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter. End of the 6th chapter, Arjuna had got this question: Krishna, what happened to those people who cannot perfect in their yoga practice? And then Krishna is telling, those who are yoga brashta, they shunatam gehe. They take birth in the family of a rich aristocrat and a pious family. And they take birth in a devotee family. And they attend a human birth. Not only human birth, they take a birth in a devotee family, and then they continue their further progress. So that's what. So when we are living a God-centered life, neither in this world, neither in the future, next birth, there is no loss. There's just a benefit, and that's why one has to live a God-centered life. If somebody is not living a God-centered life, that person is wasting his valuable life and he's just living a life of cats and dogs. So one should not live the life like a cat and dog. He should live a life of a life which is God-centered life. Okay. So we complete here this the second verse of Isopanisad. Any question till now? Okay, let's go to the verse number 3 then. The verse number 3 is talking about Asura. Now we just understood about the God-centered life, or one who is working on the principle of Ishavasya. But those who are not performing their activities on the principle of Ishavasya, what happens with these people? Is explaining this verse. Asuran nama te loka andhena tamasa varta तमसत्ते प्रेत्या भी गच्छन्ति ये के चात्मा पवन जायः. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as a world of faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So this verse talks about a person who is faithless, about Ishavasya principle, about the presence of Ishwara, or he is not ready to practice a God-centered life. So what happened to a person who is not practicing the God-centered life? He is called as a killer of the soul. So can we kill the soul? We studied in Bhagavad Gita, it was told that Nainam Chandanti Shastrani, Nainam Dhati Pavaka, one cannot kill the soul, one cannot wed the soul, we cannot do anything with the soul. So how can somebody be a killer of the soul? Very interesting. Prabhupada explains it very interestingly here. So this particular verse can be understood as the destiny of a killer of soul, a soul killer, destiny of a soul killer. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless. So there's a planet which is for the reserved for the faithless people, which are the lower planets in the whole creation. In the one Brahmanda, there are 14 planets. We are in between on the seventh planet, which is Bhuloka. Below this Bhuloka, there are other 7 planets: Sutala, Patala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and 2 more. There are 7 planets which are called as the lower planets. And these lower planets is the people where there are the people who are either faithless or the envious of God, and they are full of darkness and ignorance. So this is a destiny of a person who is a soul killer. You will see this particular word used in Bhagavad Gita also, a killer of the self, which is used. So killer of the self or killer of the soul is a person who is deep into a darkness, who is deep into ignorance. And this person does not know, first of all, the presence of, he does not know his own identity. His identity is either, he's an engineer, he's a man, he's a human, or his identity is he's an enjoyer, his identity is about he's a proprietor. Like this, he has the identity. And this person who does not have the identity of a soul, he does not know that he is not of this body, or all the identities connected to these bodies are not the real identity. His real identity is Jivera Swarupai Krishna Nityadas. That is a real identity. That he is the eternal servant of Krishna. That identity is forgotten. And then he is trying to enjoy. He is trying to identify himself as God. Whoever is trying to identify himself as a God is the killer of soul. Whoever is not connecting soul with Krishna through the process of yoga is the killer of soul. Whoever is not endeavoring for self-realization is the killer of soul. And such a people are who? They are faithless. Such a people are who? They are not believing on the Ishavasa principle. And that's why the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the world of faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Okay, let's go to the purport quickly. We'll complete this verse and then stop for today. Who is reading?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mother. Go ahead.
Human life is distinguished from animal life due to its heavy responsibilities. Those who are cognizant of these responsibilities and who work in that spirit are called suras, godly persons. And those who are neglectful of these responsibilities or who have no information for them are called asuras, demons. Throughout the universe, there are only these 2 types of human beings. In the Rig Veda, it is stated that Suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. Their ways are as illuminated as path of the sun. Intelligent human beings must always remember that the soul obtains a human form after an evolution of many millions of years in the cycle of transmigration. The material world is sometimes compared to an ocean, and the human body is compared to the solid boat designed especially to cross this ocean. The Vedic scriptures and the acharyas or saintly teachers are compared to the expert boatmen, and the facilities of the human body are compared to favorable breezes that help the boat fly smoothly to its desired destination. If with all these facilities a human being does not fully utilize his life for self-realization, he must be considered Atmaha, a killer of the soul. Sri Upanishad warns in the clear terms that the killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of the ignorance to suffer perpetually. There are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under the nasty and unpleasant condition. The human being is given all facilities for the comfortable life by the law of nature because the human form of life is more important and valuable than animal life. Why is man given a better life than that of the swine and the other animals? Why is a highly placed government sorry, uh, man is given a better life than that of the swine and the other animals? Why is a highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of the ordinary clerk? The answer is that a highly placed officer has to discharge duties of a higher nature. Similarly, the duties human beings have to perform are higher than those of animals, who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomachs. Yet the modern soul-killing civilization has only increased the problems of hungry stomach. When we approach a polished animal in the form of modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach and that there is no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite of this denunciation of this need of self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill the stomach, he is always threatened by unemployment. We are given this human form of life not to work hard like asses, swine, and dogs, but to attain the highest perfection of life. If we do not care for self-realization, the laws of nature forces us to work very hard, even though we may not want to do so. Even when we may do not want to do so. Human beings in this age have been forced to work hard like asses and bullocks that pull carts. Some of regions where the asuras are sent to work are revealed in this verse of Isopanisad. If a man fails to discharge his duties as a human being, he is forced to transmigrate to the Asuriya planet, ignorance and darkness. In the Bhagavad Gita 6.41 to 43, it is stated that a man who enters. Okay, yes.
Yeah, we will come first to discuss about this thing. So the first very important thing which is spoken by Prabhupada here is about Atmahana. Atmahana is a killer of the soul. And who is the killer of the soul is also explained here. He wastes the life in addiction to the worldly pursuits. Is that killer of the soul who is just addicted to the worldly pursuits for the sense enjoyment. Another is desire or acts for excessive sense enjoyment. His first is addicted to these worldly pursuits, and second is the his desire and acts are only for the sense gratification. Third is bound in the cycle of birth and death. This person, this particular living entity is bound in the cycle of birth and death, is the killer of the soul, and he has no knowledge about soul and the God. And the more very important, do not connect with the Paramatma or do not connect with the supreme absolute truth is the person who is the killer of the soul. So relationship is very, very important. The word meaning yoga. Yoga means union with God or the connecting with the God. So understanding of soul is that self is not sufficient. The connection between the soul and super soul is very, very important. Atma ka Paramatma ke saath sambandh jodna. So relationship is very established through the process of yoga, the knowledge of God and soul, and one is free from the sense enjoyment, is the beneficiary of the soul. But the killer of the soul is a person who is just busy or addicted to the worldly pursuits, or who his acts and desires are complete into a sense gratification, or he is completely into he is bound by the birth and death. Prabhupada begins this particular discussion with the rarity of a human life. Manusham Durlabham Manusham Janma, the Manushya Janma, the human birth is very, very Durlabh. It's very, very rare. So this is something which is very important for everyone one of us to remember and remind ourselves again and again that this human form of life is very rare. We are not going to get this human form of life again and again. And that's why we have to take the benefit of this human form of life. I always talk about this while explaining the rarity. I give this example. If you are into ocean on a ship and there's a plank with you which has a hole, and you throw that plank into the ocean on the waves, and there are big waves that the whole that wooden plank is just floating from one place to another place, and there are big beautiful tortoise you see in the ocean, in the crystal clear ocean water. So now this tortoise and this plank, they come close to each other, and then there is an opportunity for a tortoise to take out his head from that hole of that plank. How much is that possible? It's quite rare. It's very, not it is something which may happen, may not happen. Okay, fine. By some special arrangement, the tortoise, he's taking out his head out from this plank pole of the plank. And again tortoise goes down, he swims, and then this plank is also floating on ocean waves from one place to another place. What is the guarantee of same tortoise taking out his head from that hole of the plank again in front of your eyes? Maybe not possible in this life, because the plank will go anywhere, the tortoise will go anywhere. Tortoise is not trained to take out his head like that. It's rare. Something like that. The rarity of a human form is like that. You have attained the human form, and we are misutilizing the human form for the sense enjoyment, being in ignorance, being faithless. What is going to happen is just we are going to land up into the lower planets, and then again take birth into this human on this earthly planet as some animals, and live like a dog, swans, and XYZ things Prabhupada has explained. They are living only for ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunam cha. And then they are like, a person who is not following this particular verse is spoken by Yudhishthir Maharaj in Mahabharata. Ahara nidra bhaya maithunam cha samanetam pashubhinranam dharmo hitesho adhiko vishayo dharmo nehinam pashubhi samanam. So if somebody is not practicing dharma, is dharma hina, he is without a religion, religion which explains about the God and God's presence and connection with the God. If he is living his life without that, he is nothing but an animal. So we are not here to live a life of animal. Those people who live life which is God-centered, those people who are, cognizant of the responsibilities of a human life and aiming at the Lord Vishnu's lotus feet and acting accordingly, they are called as a sura. And those who are demonic people, they are called as asura. Asuras are the one who are neglectful of the responsibilities of human life, and they have no information about the self-realization. They have no information of God. They are completely into ignorance and darkness. So this verse, which begins with word asura, is highlighting this particular point, that asuras are the one who are neglectful about God-centered life. They are completely ignorance and darkness. So one has to come out of it, and he has to understand the rare human form life and take the benefit of this rarity of this human form of life, and elevate oneself. Otherwise, this material ocean is a huge material ocean, and while the human being need not to be a civilized man who is a polished animal. Prabhupada very often used to say that human beings are like a two-legged animals. We are not here to be a two-legged animals. We are human beings who have an elevated consciousness, and that's why this human birth is very rare, and we should take the benefit of this human birth. Otherwise, person is just wasting his a very valuable human form of life. So somebody very interestingly said, जो भगवान के सूर में सूर मिलाता है वो है सूर, और जो भगवान के सूर में सूर नहीं मिलाता है वो है असुर. So we are not here to be asuras. Asuras are not in line, not aligned with Krishna's principle. But a devotee or a sura, not devotee, a sura mainly, the devatas are aligned with God. So we are here living a much higher life of a God-centered life. So we should live a God-centered life. So this is in connection with again Ishavasya principle. Okay, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
In Bhagavad Gita 6.41 to 43, it is stated that a man who enters upon the path of the self-realization but does not complete the process, despite having sincerely tried to realize the relationship with God, is given a chance to appear in the family of Shuchi or Srimad. The word Shuchi indicates a spiritually advanced Brahmana, and Srimad indicates a Vaishya, a member of the mercantile community. So the person who fails to achieve a self-realization is given a better chance in his next life due to his sincere efforts in this life. If even a fallen candidate is given a chance to take birth in the respectable and noble family, one can hardly imagine the status of one who has achieved success. But by simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed birth in wealthy or aristocratic family. But those who do not even make an attempt, who who want to be covered by illusion, who are too materialistic and too attached to material enjoyment, must enter into the darkest region of hell, as confirmed throughout the Vedic literatures. Such materialistic asuras sometimes make a show of religion, but their ultimate aim is material propensity, prosperity. The Bhagavad Gita 16.17 to 18 rebukes such mean by calling them as Atma Sambhavita, meaning that they are considered great only on the strength of deception and are empowered by the votes of the ignorant and by their own material wealth. Such as asuras, devoid of self-realization and knowledge of Ishavasya, the Lord's universal proprietorship, are certain to enter into the darkest region. The conclusion is that as human beings, we are meant not simply for solving economic problems on a tottering platform, but for solving all the problems of material life into which we have been placed by the laws of nature.
Yes. So, Prabhupada is explaining that, from the verse 6.41 to 43, which talks about the person who could not perfect the yoga. So, the 41 verse is Prapya Punya Kutam Lokan Vishtam Shashvatam Sabha Suchinam Shmatam Gehe Yogo Bhrashto Abhijayate. That, it explains about a yoga bhrashta who could not follow the path of yoga. Though he was following the God-centered life, but then unfortunately because of the mind's following or the attachment to the senses or whatever reason, he could not follow that path. What happens to that person? There is no loss. He again takes a birth as a human. He again will enter into a human life. Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe. He takes birth in the family of Suchi. Suchi means a Brahmana. A Brahmana always follows Suchi, cleanliness. Prabhupada is also talking here about the Suchi. And he takes birth in the family of a Brahmana or the rich aristocratic people or a pious people. Suchinam Shrimatam Gehe. He takes birth in such a family. And then he has to endeavor for the self-realization after that. But if he is not doing that, he's just wasting a life. And then he attains the demoniac destination, life of Asura, which is explaining this. He enters into those planets where the Asuras live. And he is the killer of the soul. So that's why one should not be a killer of the soul. Human beings are meant to solve the material problems. And this karma should lead to dharma or detachment. It should lead to a religion or the detachment. And ultimately, it should lead to bhakti. That's very, very important. And that's why karma to bhakti is explained in this last some part. That whatever activities we are performing that activity for the pleasure of God and establishing our relationship with the God is very, very important. So this karma, which is explained in the second verse, should lead to bhakti, that is relationship with the Supreme Lord, is very, very important. Okay, any question till now? So the purpose is that as a human being, we are not meant simply to solving the economic problems on the rotary platform, but for solving all the problems of the material life into which we have been placed by the laws of nature. That's very important. Yes, Naveen Gopal.
So I just wanted to clarify on the word Atmaha and Atmahana. Does that have the same meaning? Atmaha and Atmahana?
Just 1 minute. So where you found this word Atmaha?
Prabhu, Atmaha is on our students' handout book. There is a question. Give the English meaning of the term Atmaha.
Okay. So Atmaha and Atmahana is the same thing, which is, if you see the verse, Yeke cha Atmahano janaha. So Atmahana is the main word actually. We maybe mistakenly written. Atmaha, like there is this word Atmahatya, which is also it has a literally meaning of killing this body, or also another meaning of killing the soul. One cannot kill the soul, but then killing of the soul is the person, as I explained, there are these 5 things which I explained about Atmaha. So Atmaha and Atmahana is the same thing, which is mentioned.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Anything else? I think we can go for the 4th verse also. Okay. All enthusiastic to study further.
Okay.
Okay. Verse number 4. Sri Isopanisad, verse 4. अनेक अनेजदेकं मनसो जवीहो नैन देव्या आपनुवन् पूर्ववर्षत तद्भावतो नान्यतेति तिष्ठस्तस्मिन्नोपि मातर्जिष्या दधाति. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all other running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place. He controls those who supply the air and rains. He surpasses all in excellence. So in the beginning, we saw the Isopanisad, Sri Isopanisad. It talks about 5 topics. Can somebody tell me which are the 5 topics?
Kala, karma, jiva, isha, jiva, kala, karma, prakriti, Prabhuji.
Yes, it talks about 5 things: Ishvara, Jiva, Kala, Karma, and Prakriti. So Ishvara is the Supreme Person of Godhead, Ishvara, Krishna. Then it also talks about Jiva, the living entity. It talks about Kala, time. It talks about Karma. We just saw the Karma, that is the actions and reactions. And it also talks about Prakriti, the material nature. So, while explaining about Ishavasya Pritam Sarvam, Krishna said, those who are following this Ishavasya principle and performing activity, what happens to them? And he also explained in the 3rd verse about those people who are not following this Ishavasya principle. What happens to them? And then we saw in the conclusion, one has to live a God-centered life. One has to surrender to the supreme absolute truth. One has to understand Ishvara. And that's why this particular verse, verse number 4, talks about who is that Ishvara? He is very powerful personality. Who is, he is Anejatam. He is a Sthira. Or, he is Javiha. He's having a effulgence. Can you just scroll down a little bit? I can read word to word meaning. Javiha. It is, he is very, very powerful. He's swift. He's swifter than the mind, he just said. And he is, he is Enata Devaha. He is, the supreme lord of all the demigods, like Indra and others. He's the supreme lord of all. Arshata, he's moving very quickly. There are so many special qualities of Krishna is explained here. And one is, he is a Matri Ishwar, that a god who can control the wind and the rain. He's a controller of all those who can control the wind and the rain. So, although fixed in his abode, that Supreme Person of Godhead who has his own abode. When we are studying about God, we understand everything. What is the name of your God? If somebody asks, his name is Krishna, what do you say? Yadav, Krishna Vasudev Yadav, or something like that. Where does he live? What is his address? His address is Golok Vrindavan. So, like that, he has a fixed abode, and that personality of Godhead is a swifter than the mind. He is very fast, he is very quick, and can overcome all other runnings. He can overcome anything and everything. And the fastest running, the fastest thing in this life. What is the fastest thing in our life? or we around us? What is that which is something which is very swift, which is very fast?
Our mind,
Our
Prabhuji.
mind,
Our mind, which is very fast. So he is the one who can overcome even the fastest thing in our life, that is our mind. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Like we see this particular thing that, whenever there's a difficulty on Mother Earth, so Mother Earth, she requests different demigods, and then they go to Brahma, and they go to Shiva, and then Brahma, Shiva, and all the demigods, they stand on the ocean, and they stand on the Karnadaksha ocean, and then they are praying. They are offering special prayer. They are chanting suktas, and they are chanting Purusha suktas, Sri sukta, different prayers, and those prayers are heard by the Supreme Lord who is lying into the ocean, and then he, in return, tells them the message. Oh, I shall come and protect you. Don't worry. So while doing all this exchange, when this exchange is happening, neither the demigods cannot see him. They don't have a direct approach where he's residing. So that's why he said the powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place, he controls those who supply the air and the rains, and he surpasses all in excellence. He is excellent. He is supreme. He's the controller. He's like he's like the prime minister who has so many ministers under control. And the prime minister has an authority of changing everything. He can change the ministers, he can change the rules in the ministry. He has the authority of doing that. And the ministers are very, they are liable to report to him. They should always obedient to the prime minister. So similarly, that Supreme Lord, who is the controller? Who controls the air and rains? All the, there's Surya, there's Chandra, there's Vayu, there is Varuna, there's Indra, and there are so many other demigods. All these demigods are controlled by him. They are providing all these things on this earthly planet, but they all are controlled by the Supreme Lord. And he is the one who surpasses all excellence. He is excellence. Okay, so this is about the Supreme Independent. Krishna is also known as a Swarata. If you see the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which talks about absolute truth, this verse is also called as the first three verses are like invocation to Srimad Bhagavatam, and the first verse talks about who is that absolute truth. It begins with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I offer my respectful obeisances to that Bhagavan, that Vasudeva is said. Who is that Vasudeva is explained. And then at the end it says Satyam Param Dhimahi. He is that Parama Satya. He is that absolute truth. So that absolute truth is spoken in. And then that in that verse also, there are so many qualities of the absolute truth are spoken. So Satyam Param Dhimahi means that is that absolute truth. Who is that absolute truth? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That Vasudev is that absolute truth. That Krishna is the absolute truth, which is the main beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam, the goal of Srimad Bhagavatam is to know who is that absolute truth, that is Krishna, and understand all his leelas, guna, rupa, nama. And there is a whole discussion about that absolute truth, Krishna. And that's why in the first verse only it is clearly said, who is that absolute truth? That is Om Namo Bhagavate. He is the Bhagavan. Who is that Bhagavan? That Bhagavan is Vasudeva. He is the son of Vasudeva. That son of Vasudeva is none other than Krishna. So what are his qualities? Janmadasya tonvayat itaraste charteshu abhigyasvarat tene brahmarudaya adikavaye muyyanti yat suraya tejo vari vridam Vinimayo yatra tri sargo vrusha bhamna svena sada nirasta puhakam satyam param dhimahi. This particular verse, very interestingly, is related to verse what we are studying now. This particular verse says, Janmadasya yatonvayat itarasta charteshu abhigya swarat. Krishna is known as Abhigya. Krishna is known as a Swarata. He is Abhigya, means Purna Jnanavan. He is completely knowledgeable. He is the one who has complete knowledge, and he is Swarat. He is completely free. He is not under anybody's adhinata. He is not under somebody's supremacy. He is supreme. So we see here also that this particular thing is explained that he is supreme. He is Swarata. He is completely free. And Prabhupada used to very often say this, that the living entity is also Swarat. And that's why living entity can be understood as Ishvara. But he is minute Ishvara. He is a small Ishvara. And Krishna is a Parama Ishvara, is a supreme Ishvara. So we are talking here about the supreme Ishvara who is completely free. He is independent. So we are trying to understand the supremely independent Lord. We are understanding the word about the supremely independent. So who is he? He is that supreme independent. So it begins with Janmadasya Yatonvayat Itarastha Charteshu Abhigya Swarat. He has come. He is that supreme personality of Godhead who is completely independent. He is that supreme personality of Godhead who is full of knowledge. He is that supreme personality Godhead who has appeared and who has, the all the creation begins from this supreme personality of Godhead, and directly or indirectly he is involved everywhere. And then further it is said, Tene Brahma Rudhaya Adikavaye Muyanti Yat Surya. That you have given this knowledge in the heart of a Brahma. That Brahma is not an independent Lord who is Brahma is known to be a creator of this Brahmanda or creator of in this particular world. But then who has given this? Tene Brahma Rudaya. In the heart of a Brahma, you have established this particular knowledge. It is like giving a blueprint to Brahmaji to construct the building. So similarly, to construct this whole creation, the blueprint was original blueprint. The original knowledge was given to Brahmaji. So by this we understand the demigod like Brahma, who is such a supreme, who is creator, is also under his direction. He is also not independent. We here also see the powerful demigods cannot approach him. And he controls those who control the air and rain. There are demigods who are controlling air, sun, whatever. And also Brahma, who is under his control. So, Tene Brahma Rudhaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Surya Tejo Vari Mrudam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Tri Sargo Musham. That, Agni, water, fire, air, ether, all these things, and other three situations of this material world. Dhamna Svena Sada Nirhasta Puhakam Satyam Param Devai. Whatever the Brahmandas are created are either it is a temporary or it is a permanent thing. Everything comes from him. Then Mother say, we saw Isha Shridam Sarvam Yat Kinchit Jagatam Jagat. And what is inanimate, animates and inanimates, everything is under his control. Similarly, everything comes from that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, there is a special abode where he resides. That is also Dhamna Svena Sada Nirhasta Puham. That there is a special abode where he is always residing to such a Supreme Lord. Dhamna Svena Sada Nirhasta Satyam Param Budhimai. To such a Param Satya, I always meditate on. This is what I explained that first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Here also, this meditation is very clear that although fixed in his abode, that abode is supreme abode, Yad Gatva Nivartante Tad Dhama Paramam Mama. That my dham is very special. Once you attend that particular place, you don't come back. Where Krishna is always residing. So Krishna is that place. Krishna is always residing in Golok Vrindavan. And he is very, very powerful. He's swifter than the mind. He can overcome anything which is running. And he is powerful. He cannot, even powerful demigods cannot approach. He surpasses all excellence and he controls everyone. The supplier of air, water, anything. He is controlling everyone. Okay, so this is about the supremely independent Lord. That is Sri Krishna. The translation is, I'll again read. Although fixed in his abode, the person of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all other runnings. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place, he controls those who supply rain, air and rains, he surpasses all in excellence. Let's go to the purport. Can somebody read the purport?
Through mental speculation, even the greatest philosopher can't know the Supreme Lord, who is absolute personality of Godhead. He can be known only by his devotee through his mercy. In the Brahma Samhita 534, it is stated that even if a non-devotee philosopher travels through space at the speed of wind or the mind for the hundreds of millions of years, he will still find that the absolute truth is far, far away from him. The Brahma Samhita 537 further describes that absolute personality of Godhead as his transcendental abode known as Goloka, where he remains and engages in his pastimes, yet by his inconceivable potencies, he can simultaneously reach every part of his creative energy. In the Vishnu Purana, his potencies are compared to the heat and light that emanate from fire. Although situated in one place, a fire can distribute its light and heat from some distance. Similarly, the absolute personality of Godhead, although fixed in his transcendental abode, can diffuse his different energies everywhere. Although his energies are innumerable, they can be divided into three principal categories: internal potency, marginal potency, and external potency. There are hundreds and millions of subheadings to each of these categories. The dominating demigods who are empowered to control the administer such a natural phenomena as air, light, and rain are classified within the marginal potency of the absolute person. Lesser living beings, including humans, also belong to the Lord's marginal potency. The material world is the creation of Lord's external potency, and the spiritual sky, where the kingdom of God is situated, is the manifestation of his internal potency. Thus, the different energies of the Lord are present everywhere. Although the Lord and his energies are not different, one should not mistake these energies for the supreme truth. Nor should one wrongly consider that the Supreme Lord is distributed everywhere impersonally, or that he loses his personal existence. Men are accustomed to reaching conclusions according to their capacity for understanding, but the Supreme Lord is not subjected to our limited capacity for understanding. It is for this reason that the Upanishads warn us that no one can approach the Lord by his own limited potency.
Okay. So, the Prabhupada begins with the mental speculation of the great philosophers cannot know the Lord. So, just by our own mental speculation, one cannot know the Lord. In the spiritual life, to understand any principle, to understand any tattva, we have to approach three things: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Always remember this triangle of Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Guru and Sadhu and Shastra, they will confirm everything, and we should believe according to this. And that's why there is a Shastra which Prabhupada is quoting here, which is a glorification by Brahmaji. Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, where he is glorifying that Supreme Lord Govinda and worshipping that Supreme Lord Govinda. So Prabhupada is first quoting about Panthastha Koti Koti Sutavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratha Munikundavanam Sopyas Yatra Prabodosmi Achinta Tatve Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Prabhupada is telling here that I worship that Govinda, whose lotus feet are approached by many yogis who aspire for the transcendental, and they take themselves, do the pranayam and other, asana and vyayamas, everything, and by the gyanis also who are trying to understand this Supreme Lord, Supreme Absolute Truth as a Brahman, and there are others also who are trying to understand that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are many people who are trying to understand that Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that Supreme Personality of Godhead is none other than the Govindas, and one Govinda, that the controller of the senses, the enjoyer of the senses, and one has to surrender to that Supreme Lord. And it also talks about this, in this verse it is where spoken that, speed of mind, and he's the one who can control the speed of mind, or they're faster than that, and that Supreme Lord is very special. It's explained here. Further, Prabhupada talks about the absolute truth, describe the absolute truth, who's about this transcendental abode, known as the Golok Vrindavan. So in the 5.37, it talks about Anand Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Stabhir Eva Nijarupa Kaladayabhi Golok Eva Nivasat Akhilatma Bhuta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. It talks out, this particular verse talks about the Golok Vrindavan Dham, where Krishna is residing. Nashanko na pavaka yadgatva nivartante tadham paramam. How it starts with? I'm just forgetting the first words. Na shashanko na pavaka. Before that, anybody knows that verse from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says yadgatva nivartante tadham paramam? Natad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yadgatva nivartante tadham paramam. He's saying that my particular abode, it is neither electrified by the electricity, neither there is a sun and moon, presence of sun and moon. It is self-illuminated. Tad bhasete suryo na shashanko na pavaka. Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam. Once you attain that abode, you will not come back. So that abode is what? That is Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. That particular abode is full of bliss. That particular abode is full of rasa. And you know, this particular place where Radharani and Krishna are residing, there are gopis and sakhis are also the confidential associates of Krishna. They are also present there, and there are 64 artistic activities are performed in the association of these sakhis, and the embodiment of the extension of her bodily forms are permitted and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. So Govinda. That Ananda Rasa is experienced at this place. The bliss is experienced at this place, and that place is none other than Golok Vrindavan. So the very first thing which is explained here, that abode where he is always residing, that abode is a Golok Vrindavan where Krishna is always residing, and that Supreme Personal Godhead is a swifter than the mind. He's very, very swift. He's very powerful. So while explaining about the swiftness of a God, which is the energy of Krishna, Prabhupada goes into explanation about the Shakti, energy of Krishna. Krishna is Shaktiman, and Shaktiman cannot be without Shakti. So just worshipping Krishna alone is not sufficient. One should be worship Krishna with his Shakti. So that Shakti is known as the internal potency, which is always with Krishna. That is Radha Krishna, Sita Ram, or Lakshmi Narayan. That is the internal potency. So there are three potencies which are explained here. One is called as the internal potency, which is also known as Antaranga Shakti. Then second is explained as the external potency, which is Bahiranga Shakti. And then third, which is explained as a marginal potency, which is known as a Tatastha Shakti. So please make a note of it. The marginal potency is Tatastha Shakti. There is external potency, which is Bahiranga Shakti. And there is internal potency, which is Antaranga Shakti. This Antaranga Shakti is a Ladhini Shakti. This Antaranga Shakti, which is a bliss potency. We also see that there is Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna's form is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means Sanatan, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda is full of bliss. So Sat and Chit potencies belongs to Balramji. Balramji is the expansion of these potencies. And Ananda potency belongs to Srimati Radharani, or the Ladhini potency, or the internal potency. So Krishna expanded into two forms. One is Balarama and another is Srimati Radharani. When Krishna expanded as Srimati Radharani, from her, there is a further expansion. That is, there are further expansion of Lakshmis. So many Lakshmis came, or there is Rukmini, Satyabhama, so many expansions of Lakshmiji came. That is internal potency, which are the expansions of Radharani. Also, there is another energy which expanded from Srimati Radharani, which is also known as the external potency, Bahiranga Shakti. So, Antaranga Shakti, Ladhini Shakti, internal potency is one. And there is another expansion which is called the Bahiranga Shakti, that is external potency, that is Mahamaya. Internal potency is known as Yogamaya, and external potency known as Mahamaya. Apart from that, in the further expansion of Krishna, there is Tatastha Shakti. What is Tatastha Shakti? The living entities are known as the Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha is very nice to understand. His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj explains this very nicely. He says, "Hum beach ke hai." Now, if you go to a beach on an ocean and there is a beach, this beach, when you see, this beach is neither dry neither wet. there is a dry land on other side. There's an ocean full of water on other side. But then in between there is a patch. Sometimes it is wet, sometimes it is dry. And that is called as a beach. It is also known as tata. So that's why the living entity is a marginal potency, which is known as a tatastha shakti. So हम बीच के हैं, means हम लोग neither dry, neither wet, neither on the internal side, neither on the external side. We are in between. We are on the margin. And that's why the potency is called the marginal potency, which is tatastha shakti. So there is tatastha shakti, there is antaranga shakti, there is bahiranga shakti. Antaranga shakti is internal potency, tatastha shakti is marginal potency, and bahiranga shakti is external potency. Antaranga shakti is known as yogamaya, bahiranga shakti is known as mahamaya, and tatastha shakti is jivatma. Okay, I hope I'm not confusing all of you. Is that clear?
Yes, Prabhupada.
Okay. So Krishna Prabhupada is talking about this Krishna's energy. There is an internal potency, there is marginal potency, and external potency. So Krishna works with these potencies. The external potency is given the task of being a jailer for this material world. In the whole creation of Krishna, 1/4 part of the part is a material world. 3/4 part is a spiritual sky, spiritual world. The 3/4 part is under the Yogamaya's Shakti's, Yogamaya energy's control. But 1/4 part is under the control of Mahamaya, that is external potency. And then Mahamaya, she is holding a trident and she is punishing the living entities. She is like a jailer. And that if you go to jail, the prisoners are given different clothes. That is like, the PR of the prisoners who are awarded different bodies. That's like changing the clothes, changing the bodies. And then there is a trident which that Mahamaya is holding and she is punishing. That trident has a three sharp edges, point. That is nothing but three with the tap, you can say. Is Adi Bhautika Klesh, Adi Devika Klesh, Adhyatmika Klesh. And with these Kleshas, the living entity is always given trouble, tortured, or is punished basically. Living entity is always punished. So that is that external potency who is given this responsibility of checking on all the living entities. And then there is internal potency, which is a bliss potency. So that bliss, Krishna is the one who is the energetic, who is that Shaktiman who possesses all this energy. And that's why he's supreme. He says he surpasses all excellence just because of, he has all these energies under his control. And then there is further expansion and creation, and all the other demigods come from him. And then all those demigods, all other living entities, all the people, either devatas, asuras, any species or living entities into, everybody is under his control. Nobody can control him, and that's why he is that supremely independent Lord. Okay. Let's go ahead. Please we'll complete the purport.
Somebody's reading?
Somebody can read.
Yeah, I will read. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
In the Bhagavad Gita 10.2, the Lord says that not even the great Rasis and Suras can know him, and what to speak of the Asuras, for whom there is no question of understanding the ways of the Lord. This fourth mantra of Sri Shubnishad very clearly suggests that the absolute truth is ultimately the absolute person. Otherwise, there would have been no need to mention so many details in support of his personal features. Although the individual parts and parcel of the Lord's potencies have all the symptoms of the Lord himself, they have limited spares of activity and are therefore all limited. The parts and parcels are never equal to the whole. Therefore, they cannot appreciate the Lord's full potency. Under the influence of material nature, foolish and ignorant living beings who are but part and parcel of the Lord try to conjecture about the Lord's transcendental position. Sri Ishupnishads warns of the futility of try to establish the identity of the Lord through mental speculation. One should try to learn of the transcendental form of Lord himself, the supreme source of the Vedas, for the Lord alone has full knowledge of the transcendence. Even part and parcel of the complete whole is endeavored with some particular energy to act according to the Lord's will. When the part and parcel living entity forgets his particular activities under the Lord's will, he is considered to be in Maya illusion. Thus, from the very beginning, Sri Ishopanishad wants us to very careful to play the part designated for us by the Lord. This does not mean that the individual soul has no initiative of his own. Because he is part and parcel of the Lord, he must mm, partake of the initiative of the Lord as well. When a person properly utilizes his initiative or active nature with intelligence, understanding that everything is the Lord's potency, he can revive his original consciousness, which was lost due to association with Maya, the external energy. All power is obtained from the Lord. Therefore, each particular power must be utilized to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. The Lord can be known by one who has obtained such an submissive service attitude. Perfect knowledge means knowing the Lord in his features, knowing his potencies, and knowing how these potencies works by his will. Thus, matters are described by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all the Upanishads.
Hare Krishna. So here we see Prabhupada is talking about the marginal potency, the jivas. Jivas are the parts of the Supreme Lord's marginal potency, and they have symptoms, qualities like Supreme Person of Godhead, but they are all limited. That's why we are Anu, and Supreme Lord is Vibhu. He is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is Supreme Lord Vibhu. And then he possesses all the qualities in full, and we are having those qualities in limited. And that's why we can never equal to him. So our Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva talks about this, that Lord is inconceivable, Lord is incomparable, comprehensible, and that Supreme Lord is Achintya, and there is Bheda and Abheda, that the living entities are same and different. They are not equal to Lord, but they also have the symptoms or the qualities like Supreme Person of Godhead. That is about the marginal potency. There are many speculators who speculate about Lord, and they do it because of the influence of Maya, and then this speculation is not correct. One cannot understand the supremacy of Lord. Lord is not subject to our limited capacity of understanding. Greatest philosopher says Devatas cannot know him by speculation or reach him by traveling through the space at the speed of a wind or mind for millions of years. Bhagavad Gita 10.2 talks about it. That it's not easy to approach him. It's not easy to approach that Supreme Person of Godhead with our own understanding. Only a bhakta, a devotee with a service attitude can understand him. So if one has to understand the knowledge, he has to be a devotee of the Supreme Lord, and one should try to understand the Lord through Lord himself. One cannot understand the Lord on his own. He has to understand the Lord through himself by following the words of the God. The words of Supreme Lord is that that same Lord is telling that you will be completely free from fear. That Supreme Lord is telling that I will reveal that particular knowledge. So that's why one has to know the Lord by surrendering to Lord. And that's why this particular service attitude towards the Lord is very important. Understanding our position as servant is very, very important. And one who knows the position of a servant will be free from the illusion and he will be free from this external potency, which is Maya, and he can further progress. Then further it is said that when we intelligently utilize our active nature to understand that everything is the Lord's potency, we can revive our original consciousness, which was lost due to association with Maya. So with the association of external potency, we forgot this particular thing, and that's why we are suffering. And that can be understood, that can be revealed. There can be a revival of our original nature when we are doing everything as per the instructions of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this particular verse talks about the supremely independent Lord, and the speculation of supreme independent Lord is not correct. One has to understand the God through a right medium, by the right scriptures, by the right devotees, by the very humble service attitude mood, by which we can understand the supremely absolute independent Lord. So Lord, that Lord whose abode is fixed, he is very, very swift. He is the one who can, control the mind, the speed of mind, and even the faster things in this world. And he is the controller of supplier of the rain and air, that is the devatas, and he surpasses everyone, and he is supremely excellence. That Supreme Lord is very special. Okay, any question till now on this verse number 4, the supremely independent Lord? Okay, so we will stop here for today. Thank you all very much. Shri Isopanisad ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I hope I'm not going fast.
Hare Krishna.
Everybody is getting what we are discussing.
No, it's okay, bro.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.